Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's Sunday, y'all. It is Sunday once again, back here to talk about the steps. We are on step 4. We made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. Can we please take a moment of silence for the addict who still suffers? Okay, my God, my God. Shout out to the 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous program. Shout out to the ones who celebrating clean time for this month or next week or this week. Shout out to you all. Staying motivated and staying clean. We must do that. But we are on step 4. I got to pull myself out of this shell, Mother Days, I promise I miss my mother. For those of you who have a mother, appreciate that. Appreciate her while she's living. Because when she gone, you'll feel something really empty. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Happy Mother's Day to my godmother. Happy Mother's Day to Mother Maddie. I wish y'all a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the 12-step program all over the world. Happy Mother's Day to you all. I hope y'all have a good and prosperous day, and hope somebody done put a smile on y'all face, because we are mothers of wonders. We do what we do in spite of. So happy Mother's Day to you all. We are on step 4, and step 4, it said we may. See, what I like about this step is because you have to prepare yourself to get on step 4. Step 4 is not an easy step, and everybody can't work a step 4 right away. You have to take your time. We have, when I came in, no, don't let me forget, God forgive me, to the shout out to the ones who have lost their loved ones due to addiction. I lost one, and I know many, many, many people have lost a loved one due to their addiction, or overdose, but we still have to go on and miss them and keep them in our hearts. But a shout out to the parents, sister or brother or cousin or nephew, mother or father, who done lost someone due to addiction. We all could have been dead, but somehow we still here, clean. This step right here for me is about courage, because it's going to take some courage to get motivated to want to do a step 4. Hey, Cynthia, how you doing, honey? Good to see you. Step 4, it says we made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. This step is finding out who we are. That's all this step gonna do, is we gonna find out who we are in this step. And why is it we have to search and have a fearless inventory of ourselves? Is because, when we doing something different, it can be very hard because it's the unknown. Our problem really started. Hey, Blanche, happy Mother's Day to y'all. Happy Mother's Day to Cynthia. Happy Mother's Day to Auntie. Had a good time today. And back home, happy Mother's Day to all y'all. And this step right here is a step that lets you know we had problems before we even picked up the drug. We all had problems before we even became an addict. We had problems. We was going through things and we didn't understand, and we had to figure some things out, learning things about ourselves and understanding why it took us to that point to go down that back road and to go through the things that we went through to get ourselves together. And I love this step because it says take a more and fearless inventory. And the reason why I believe that it was fearless because I was scared of this step, because this step was going to tell me about Renee. It was going to tell you about you. But I went on learning that if I talk about this step and work this step, I was going to free myself. You were going to free yourself. This step, is about motivation. Motivating ourselves to find out some answers that we've been seeking. And we didn't want to find out. We didn't want to do nothing when we was on drugs. But like I said, the problems and all the other addictions started before we even picked up. And people think just because we take some drugs and pick some drug up, then we didn't have no problems before then. But that's how I got started, having problems before we even picked up. Searching that fearless and moral inventory. So this step, in spite of, I didn't want to do this step, but in spite of, you had to do this step. Just like you got to do all the steps. I came to a point in our lives to where, I was we beat ourselves up because we don't understand the disease of an addiction. And the disease of an addiction is very cunning and is very powerful and baffling. And I say that because that's true. It comes with your active using. It'll trick your mind. It'll make you think that you are doing the right thing. I had to ask myself, why do it say more, or more? That means you got to get deep with it. You got to do some searching. You got to find out, why is this step 4 so deep? And it's going to take you to some things. I was afraid of working this step. I was very afraid to work this step, but I went on and did it with my sponsor. I couldn't do this step by myself. I had to do it with my sponsor. And I did it with her, and she helped me understand that this step is about freeing yourself, and knowing who you are, and why do we do the things that we do, and what length we have to go through to get help. I had to go through a lot of things to get the help that I needed. A whole lot of things. And I'm so grateful that I was able to work this step with my sponsor, because my sponsor prepared and helped me to understand this step. Taking a moral inventory, as many of us have, a multitude of unpleasant association connected to the word moral. It says it may conquer up memories of early red codes behaviors. See, I told you the problem started before we even picked up. And then it escalated as we used, and people just one day just don't decide just to get high. You got to go through something. You got to be doing something or going through something. And our behaviors and all that started way before we even became an addict. And I always tell people that, but I know I had to motivate myself to even do this step, because this step, as I read the step, this step was going to take you through many different stages in your life in this 4th step. And this 4th step have also helped me to understand why do I want to even do the searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. It's a process with a process. You're going to learn something from the process. You gotta get in here to understand the process, and then you're going to learn from the process. And that's finding out who I am was the best gift. It's the best gift. Hey, Miss Maddie, happy Mother's Day. I just mentioned that. Happy Mother's Day to everybody who's on here. But I had to understand that I had to do something different. I had to find out a lot about me that I didn't know about me, and I didn't think that a book or steps could help me out, but it did. It helped me so much that I wanted to continue to work the steps. And it took me a while. It took me a while to work the steps, years to understand the steps, and keep doing it with my sponsor until I got a hold of it, and these times, when our clean time can actually work against us, because we can be clean and then we can start, going through changes and this and that. And if we don't continue to work these steps just ain't just for the time you work it. You have to continue to work these steps. No matter what happens in your life, you have to pour it in your life, and I had to learn that. I thought we just go through the steps and then we done, and go to the next step, then we done. No, you got to apply these steps every day in your life. No matter what you're going through, good day, bad day, you gotta apply it to your life. And I always tell people, having a place to go that you can search and understand yourself is a blessing. It's such a blessing, and I knew I had to find a way to understand my behavior and understand why I think the way I think and why I do the things that I do. And the inventory means we got to go back. We got to go back. When we take that searches and feels more inventory, we got to go back to some things. What captivate us to become impulsiveness with our behaviors? We had to take an inventory. What brought us to that point to where we couldn't understand and why we kept using? That's the point I needed to get to. Why every time I tell myself I will stop, then I go right back to using again. And it baffled me because I thought I was going to die using. Most of us did. Most of us did come in here broken, and we thought that we was going to die and not ever be able to get some help. But somewhere down the line, hey, Kenny, how you doing, honey? Somewhere down the line, God was able to pull me out of that gutter. He'll pull you out of the gutter to get you some help. Spiritual principles. The spiritual principles in these 12 steps is very enlightening, because in order for me to find out more about myself and to free myself, I had to get a better understanding with God, and that in the 4th step, we call on all the spiritual principles in this step. We call on all of them, whether we think they true or not. I had to still check it out for myself, because I know I was tired of using. The inventory that I was taking was painful. It wasn't no good inventory for me. I can't lie. When you taking a 4th step, that's why you shouldn't take it without having a sponsor. So when you have a sponsor, the sponsor can, we can ask questions and we can do things and say, why is it that we had to make a certain fearless moral inventory? Taking a fearless and moral inventory means going ahead despite of how we feeling. That's what I came up with. Despite how I was feeling and what I was going through, I know I needed to help myself, because I'm broken in the inside. When we get broken in the inside and we got to lie every day and cheat every day and hide every day and don't agree with our feelings, but we deal with it anyway. That's a painful way to live, and I have to take a personal inventory right here, right in some days in my life. I had to take an inventory today, in spite of how I was feeling. Whenever Mother's Day come, I miss my mother. I miss her before Mother's Day come. Every day is a Mother's Day to me. But, they give us that one special day. And I woke up not feeling the best, but I just pushed myself anyway. That's what we have to do. We learn and recover that we can't quit no matter what happens. We have to keep on moving, keep on going, keep understanding what it is that we need to find out about ourselves that keep us in pain, that keep us, not focused, that keep us, hurting inside. And I like this step because this step helped free me. It helped me get an understanding how we pile up all that pain in us. And we carry that. We carry that for years. Some of us some of us get pain on top of pain. That's why we kept using the behavior patterns, I want when I want it. Hey, Pam. So I had to understand that this fourth step is really sent a message to me. And the message that is sent to me, get deep in this book so you can find out the answers you've been lacking, and you can understand why it says searching a fearless and moral inventory. And it's more deep because you got to get butt naked to get in to find out what was the purpose of you getting high. What was the purpose? Because the first time you got high, you was going to continue to get high over and over again. So what took you to that point when you was taking this inventory, this moral inventory of yourself? What took you to this point to where you wanted to get high? And once you kept getting high, you wanted to stay getting high. Hey, Lorraine, good to see you, honey. So I had to understand that this step is not a step of playing with. You got your feelings in this step. You got the guilt and the shame in this step. You got some resentments in this step. You got some painful, hidden agendas in this step. So I had to deal with all that. I had to deal with the shame. You have to deal with the shame of the stuff that we did. That's why I said, that's why I know this step was meant for me. It's meant for everybody. But I took this step personal because I had to go through some changes in order to find out why I did what I did and why did I go to the depth of doing the things that I kept doing. I had to find out. And then I had to find out, how do I deal with my individual feelings? When we as addicts, when I was using, I didn't too much feel. All I felt was pain. I didn't want to deal with, no, I shouldn't get high. I don't want to deal with none of that. And feeling plays a big part in our recovery. Remember that. Because if we really want to stay clean, we're going to have to learn how to work with our feelings. And in this step, it says we made a searching. So we had to go back and we had to deal with some things that we ain't never even had to deal with before. It was some pain was going to go up. I had to deal with all the resentments that I had stuck inside of me that kept me getting high, that set me up to get high. Because I didn't know how to deal with resentments. But these steps teaches us how to deal with our own personal feelings, our own personal lives, our own personal guilt. I had a lot of guilt. We get a lot of guilt when we come in off this step. When we work in this step, like I told you, that's why I didn't want to work this step. Because this step is very deep. When it says taking made a searching fearless inventory, inventory of ourselves, ourselves got a lot of action that we had in our lives. And I had to deal with a lot of stuff. And it broke me down it broke me down sometimes. Because now I had to, deal with the shame of why I was getting high. And why I'm everything that everybody say I am. Why can't I stop? What is the purpose of us getting high and don't find the end to it? It's because we don't want to find that end. I needed to find the end to it. I needed to understand my disease. This is a disease. And it could surface back up at any good time, because I've known people to stop drinking for a couple of years and all of a sudden stop working the program, all of a sudden stop doing what they needed to do and go right back. So this is why they have these steps for us. And this step 4, when you get to step 4, you well kind of know what you preparing yourself for from 1, 2, and 3. You know, so I see my sister is on here, Evangelist Selena Green, and I thank God for her. And I understand why I help resentments. I understand why. We hold resentments because of we hurt. We was mistreated. I helped a lot of resentments. And every time I would get high, I would think about all the people that hurt me. Because I felt like I didn't hurt nobody. I do that today. I don't hurt nobody. I just don't say nothing to you. Or I don't fool with you. But I don't hurt nobody. You can't say you love the God of our understanding if you're going around hurting somebody. You cannot say that. And so I had to change some things in my life to understand why I did it and created all the habits that I had created to keep me to using, you know, like all the lies we told. Then you go back into taking that searches, feelers, more inventory. Then you're going to find out, man, it was some things I did was really deep. And, you know I did a lot of stuff. Almost killed myself 3 or 4 times. Wanted to take my life. Help resentments. I didn't want to deal with the feelings that I have inside of me, because feelings is like a roller coaster. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. And then I had to deal with, this was very painful for me, the guilt and the shame. Now, if y'all come into recovery and you got a lot of baggage and y'all want to get some help, I know the first thing you want to find out how to deal with the guilt and the shame. I had to learn humility must set in. Humility must set in for us to feel anything. We have to learn how to have humility and understand what humility means for us to understand freedom. Freedom from drugs, freedom from alcohol. So I had to learn a lot about this step, and it took me a long time. And my sponsor wasn't in a rush with me. She really was very patient, because it was a very deep and emotional step, because this step is going to pull some things out of you that you thought you had surfaced it and put it away, but now you clean. Now you can feel free to go back and pick this stuff up and deal with it. You're going to have to go back and visit, because you won't get that super what you're looking for unless you deal with every hurt, crackle, and pain that kept us getting high. So I had to deal with that and understand me. But I'm so grateful that this part, to me, this step have 2 parts. And this part is, what is the motives? What was the motives? What was the motives of us getting high? Why did we get to that point to where we wanted to hurt other people because we were hurt? What was the motive of us holding on to resentments? What was the motive of us building all these characters in us that protected us or either hurt us from our act of using? You know, I tell you, this step was very deep for me. And sometimes, you know, my sponsor wanted to work the step, and I tell her, I don't feel like it today. And sometimes she'll push me. She said, well, then that's the time you need to let me come and we meet up and we work on it. But sometimes it got too deep for me, because it made me realize how ugly I had became. It made us realize the depth of what we went through to use on a daily basis every day. You know, and I had to carry that. And I understand that this is a disease of an addiction, you know, but we have to learn how to deal with the setting ourselves free so we can learn how to deal with the guilt and the shame. You know, then I went through a couple of more things. I went through the fear factor. The fear factor was I'm scared to even go back. I don't even want to deal with all that garbage. Do you know how long I had packed all that stuff away and continue to get high and pack more stuff and continue to hurt and hurt more peoples? And, so when you get to this step, that fear of the unknown or what you're going to come up with or what you might pull out of it, going back, taking that more and feelings inventory, going back. Hey, Gertrude, happy Mother's Day to all y'all. To Gertrude, my cousin Pam, Selena, Cynthia, Lorraine, and whoever else is on here, their names don't show. Happy Mother's Day. I'm trying to push myself, but that's Satan, and he thinks he's sharp. I had a good time in service today, and I just couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying because sometimes I realize that even the pain that we get in us now, that's why I have to continue to take an inventory, and I had to take an inventory today. Where's this pain coming from? Why is you feeling discombobulated? Why? And because on Mother's Day, I would be able to talk to my mother and see my mother. And it's been a painful road without her being in this road with me. It's been very painful, no matter how it looks, no matter how I sound. When you have a good mother, we don't miss nothing that's bad. And when you got a mother that's been there for you, and Mama, what you think? Mama, I'm hurting, I'm crying. What you So I was all discombobulated today, but I still have to keep pushing myself no matter what. See, when I used to get discombobulated, I'll take a drink. When I used to just get discombobulated, I'll go get high. I'll run so fast when I start feeling these inner feelings and start dealing with all these feelings I'm feeling. I used to go get high. But you can't do that when you're recovering. You just can't, no matter how you feeling or what you're going through. That fear factor for me is that I was going to mess up. I was going to start something that I don't finish, that I didn't complete, because I've always done that. That's the way it works. Doing something and can't finish it and complete it. That's how it works. And I was guilty of that. I never could start something and finish it. I always was a messed up child. I always had to be it done my way and find a different way to think I can make it better when all I was doing was creating more trouble and more pain for me. So it was a fear factor. But step 4 saved my life, because step 4, it showed me how I started accepting humility. And I started facing my own consequences. Started looking at everything, not taking nothing wrong in this step, but I still was scared because I didn't have to deal with all this. Why can't I just stop getting high? I just want to stop getting high. Why do I got to even work a step? Why do I need the steps? Why do I got to go through all this just to stop getting high? Because you're dealing with a disease that can be deadly. You're dealing with a disease that'll take you out before you know it. You're dealing with a disease that has no cure. Only cure I know of, as long as I don't pick up. As long as I don't take that first drink, I won't get drunk. As long as I don't take the first hit, I won't chase it all night and all day. And so when I came to this step, I got really scared for this step. I always tell y'all, this step was not a good step for me, because this step pulled out all the ugliness, all the things that I went through to hurt other people. And the main person we hurt is ourselves. So step 4, I messed up a lot of relationships. And that's what I didn't want to deal with. That was another part of this step 4. I messed up good, genuine relationship because I wanted to choose. I wanted to get high and continue to get high. And I didn't know how to relate to people no more. I didn't understand how to deal with nobody no more because I was so full of drugs and alcohol. So I would kind of be quiet, or either I disappear, or either we isolate, or either we find somewhere else to go where ain't nobody that we love got to watch us and look at us while we getting high or while we in the midst of being high. And I had to understand that, but now I got good relationships. See, it's painful when you losing the relationships of the people you got high with. That's painful too. Or the people that you just wanted them to fit in or you to fit in, and now you done lost them. See, when you get off drugs, you lose. That's what's best. You lose them people that's getting high. And I pray for the ones that were still getting high. But I couldn't get high no more. It was just, I couldn't. Anytime you want to take your own life, and we didn't give ourselves life, it had put me in a point of me not understanding why I think the way I think. And then I started reading these steps, and I started understanding the shame and the guilt of how I put myself in an atmosphere to think that I wasn't worthy, how I wasn't no good, how I hurt myself over and over again, and just going back, taking that more inventory of myself, made me feel worse when I was working these steps. But I was clean, and I knew I couldn't use. So it got to a point to where I had to keep on going through the steps. I had to keep dealing with this step, and this step is very eye-opener. I call it that. It's an eye-opener because it's going to regain you some memories of what you have done and what you need to change, and how can you fix it? How can you control your thinking? Well, how can I let go of the feelings of me feeling shame and guilt? But you must go through all this to come out to be a winner. When you can work them steps for years and work on step 4, you become a winner because you choose not to hold on to stuff like I captivated stuff of resentments and hate and pain. I captivated that, and I kept that, and I held on to that. And it was comfortable for me because I didn't have to identify what part I played in it. So it was very comfortable for me. And so when I got to work in this step, step 4 gonna pull. It's gonna pull, and it's gonna take you back. It's gonna bring you forth. It's gonna take you back. It's gonna bring you forth. But I love this step because in the outcome, then you understand why we was feeling guilty. You understand why we were shamed. You're gonna understand that why it's a fear. We take that fear as more inventory. Because I didn't want to take it. Taking the fears mean I didn't want to, but in spite of, I went on and did it, and I'm so glad I did because I learned a lot. It says, how has my fear of being hurt affected my friendship and romantic relationship? Well, now it's better, but when I was using it, it just was not good at all. I didn't have everything came out my mouth was a lie, or I mixed and managed and pulled some stuff in there and said some things, took away some things. The best part of my life was when I got clean. When I stopped popping pills, when I stopped doing drinking, when I stopped, I just couldn't think. I just kept making mistakes over and over. And, I would get in a relationship and they drinking and they getting high. And it ain't good when you got 2 dope fiends, 2 crackheads, 2 alcoholics living in the same house and you ain't agreeing on nothing. It just ain't going. Hey, Reverend Antoine Watkins, how you doing? I had to learn. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn why did I disagree with everything that my mother or somebody tried to tell me when I was using. That's because we don't want to hear. We don't want to listen. We ain't got time for all that. We don't want to do all that. All I wanted to do was get high. But now that I'm clean, all I want to do is learn more and more and focus on myself and learn how to work these steps. And I'm still learning. It's a process. I told you it's a process with a process. Because you start off processing everything that you need to understand about yourself. And then you have to start processing it to get it together. To bring you some kind of answers. Thank you, honey. To bring you some kind of answers. You know, I learned a lot in this step. But what I did learn about me is that we don't have to take no wooden nickels. All we got to do is do what the program suggests us to do. Step 4 is a step that's going to help you and guide you and show you where you're going wrong and what you need to do to let go of things. You know, I didn't want to do step 4. Step 4 was very painful. And sometimes when I think about step 4, it brought me to the point where I understood why I had so much humility in my life. And you know, I never accepted consequences for what I was doing. You know, I always wanted to blame somebody else. When he did this to me, he hurt me. So I took that. But like I told you, we had behaviors before we even picked up. We had problems. We had so many problems before we even started getting high. So you have to learn your body. You have to learn your brain and understand what you're going through. Like I told you, I know I was discombobulated all day. You know, because I'm in my feelings. You know, we get in our feelings and you know, we get in our feelings. And sometimes I had to say, you know, I'm using me as an example, like the kids would say, can we use the car to go get you something for Mother's Day? You know, I don't want nothing for Mother's Day. You know, but then I was self-centered because if they really want to get me something, why will I spoil it for them? Because I'm having a rough day. You know, that's why taking an inventory of yourself, it don't mean back just when you was using. Now you trying to find out why you was using, and you got to take an inventory. You got to take an inventory of how you react to a reaction or how you react to somebody that's trying to do something nice. All I wanted to do was just come in and take off my clothes and go lay down and have a conversation with God. And that's what I'm going to do when I get off this live. Have a conversation with God about how grateful I am for an addict like me can understand that we are worthy to feel any way we need to feel. And I'm telling somebody else that's going through some things. I got a couple of friends that's going through some stuff, you know, and part of that is in me too. You know, I got a friend that just lost her baby last year on Mother's Day. And now her baby here this year. You know, when you get out of your own self and it becomes about other people's, then that means that you realize that it ain't just about you. That's what it means to me. Because some people, it's just always about them. Always what they can get, what they want. And when I went into recovery and I was dealing with my sponsor with this step, that was one of the steps. That was one of the things that she had to really deal with me about, was humility of how people used to make me feel. Because I always tried to be perfect. I always tried to fit in, to like people. And it's crazy how when you get into relationships, I ain't just talking about no boyfriend and girlfriend, don't get it twisted. I'm talking about just a relationship with a woman and a man. You know, when you get into a relationship, how you understand that when you meet somebody else, you know that you have had them kind of peoples in your life. You know, I don't want to never do nothing to hurt nobody. That's why I always tell God, when I do an inventory, God, if I was displeased, if I did something to displease you, please forgive me. But I'll try to stay humble and keep my mouth closed and not say nothing to hurt somebody. But, You know, the day when the kids said, well, we want to go get you something for Mother's Day. It was like, I don't want nothing. You know, I just want to go lay down and just chill. And, but then you also have to realize you got kids. You realize you got kids that want to do something for you or see you smile. But see, I'm not good in hiding feelings no more. See, when I was getting high, I could hide all the feelings I felt, you know. But today you have to just go with the flow. You can't use, you know, just go with the flow. And step 4 taught me that too. Step 4 told me taking a more inventory. That don't mean just when you was taking it. That mean you take it today, tomorrow, for the rest of your life. Step 4 is a deep step. And step 4 also prepares you for the pain you finna connect inside of you again, because you got to pull it and talk about it. I had to pull all that garbage and taking that inventory of what started me? Why did I want to get high? What was I trying to escape from? What was I running from? Why couldn't I stop? And then it said, feeling got too good. When the feeling get too good, we as addicts, you know, we are people that when something feels good, we run with it. So that's why I have to keep myself at a boundary that when something is really too good to be true or too good to be happening, I have to take a look at it and I have to sit back, which we didn't do that before. When we was drinking just to, you know, some people get in a relationship just to, if that person is drinking, you'll drink along with them and you know you can't drink. I have destroyed, I realized in this step, I destroyed a lot of relationships because I believe I was going to get hurt. I destroyed a lot of relationships. Yeah, I lost some friends that I really didn't want to lose, but because of my using, I lost them. You know, but see, I realized working the step 4 that it's a time and season for even friendships. It's a time and season to let go. Hey, Sabrina, it's a time and a season that you're going to get a new set of friends. You're going to get a new set of faces. You're going to get a new set of problems. You're going to get a new set of how you fix things. You know, life is a roller coaster. People don't believe that life is a roller coaster. And if you don't keep that mind clear and you don't let God stay there and help you guide you, you're going to be lost. You're going to get captivated. You're going to be caught up. And that's why I don't like to be caught up. That's why I like to stay to myself and I like to meditate. And I tell you, the only thing that I know that have helped me stay clean was through the love of God. And I'll tell anybody, you know, even with the mistakes I might make today, ain't nothing going to separate me from the love of God, because I know when I wanted to end my life, when I wanted to do the things I wanted to do, he still had somebody watching me and helping me. So when I worked this step taught me, you know, this step here says we made. It ain't just I had to do it. Everybody have to do this step. We made it feel as a more inventory of ourselves because we didn't understand. We didn't understand what was going on us with this addiction. We didn't understand. And, you know, we abused ourselves. You know, I used sex to my own benefit. You know, see, it's a lot of stuff that when you're taking that searching and feel is more inventory, you got to bring up some habits and behaviors that you thought you had submerged and put aside. You know, but I had to go back through all this, you know, in step 4, because whatever situation came pain. I abused myself and abused other people. And step 4 had me to realize it. I wasn't just an abuser. I was being abused too. But because I choose to get high, I overlooked that. So I had to deal with that and understand how can I get healthy in that area. How can I get healthy by not abusing myself or abusing somebody else or letting somebody else abuse me. I had to look at that in this step. Because we did that to ourselves. I abused myself thinking, I abused myself in so many words. And then we look at the word sex. Sex play a part in our active addiction. Because see, if we want something and we can't get it, or we ain't got no money, then first thing we think we could do is have sex and get it. And it worked. And I started doing that. And behind it I was shame and guilty, and that came back up in the fourth step. Why did I stoop so low? Why did I take myself out of my character to stoop so low so I can go get high again? And I had to realize step 4, so that's a disease of an addiction. The disease of an addiction takes our character away, it makes us be somebody else, not give a doggone, not daring. I used to be scared to do some certain things, but as soon as I got some alcohol and drug in me, boy, I wasn't scared and fearful of nothing. That's why I say that drug and alcohol is, ain't no joke. It just ain't no joke. Secrets. I was good in keeping secrets. I understand in step 4, but them secrets had to come out. Step 4 gonna bring that out. If you really working a program and ain't shucking and driving, and if you really working a program, you're gonna deal with all these. You're gonna deal with everything. You're gonna deal with the feelings. You're gonna deal with secrets. Secrets keep us sick. And I stayed sick because I had so many secrets. So many secrets was defined in who I'm not. Why am I holding on to all these secrets that I'll probably die with? But honey, step 4, with my sponsor, bless her heart, helped me bring all that out. So you go through different stages. The essence of my life. What is good for me? What is the essence of my life? This program is an essence for me because it's teaching me how to be humble, how to learn how to be truthful, and understand the disease of an addiction. And I know I can't pick up, even though sometime in my mind, Satan will creep up and say, oh, I don't even pay that attention no more because he don't like it that we doing good. He don't like it that we clean. He don't like it that we was clean for one day. He don't like it that we made a decision for 2 days not to use. So he gonna come at you when you make a decision to do something different that's gonna better your life and that's gonna not cause you harm and pain. So I had to learn about step 4. And I had to also learn that in step 4, it says an inventory of ourselves. And that's bringing awareness to us that we did some things that we know that was a mind changer. It set us up. We set ourselves up. We set ourselves up in recovery. We set ourselves up when we was using. We set ourselves up to bring more problems and chaotic stuff in our lives. We set ourselves up to become homeless. We set ourselves up to lose our babies. We set ourselves up to lose our mind. We set ourselves up to let that depression and that anxiety get inside of us. And man, once that get inside of you dealing with the drug, now you're dealing with depression. Now you got anxiety and you still using. We were messed up. We was messed up. And I thank God for sure that he helped me find this program, the 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous program. And when I tell y'all that people think I be lying, it ain't easy. It ain't easy maintaining months and years. It ain't easy, but it ain't that hard neither. But I just wanted to tell you, it really, sometimes it get hard. Sometimes the balance in our lives want to take us to a whole nother different level. But that's why we got to stand on something or we going to fall for anything. I ain't never going back to use. I'm not confused about that. I tell y'all all the time, I know I never pick up. And I used to have one person say, never say never. And the lady told me, you should never say you won't never use. I've been saying it for 36 years, so why? Why stop now? It's been working. You don't know my story. I don't know your story, but I know my story was too painful and too great. I know step 4 it showed me what courage means. Step 4 showed me what courage means. Courage means when you're going through the depth of whatever you got to go through and you got to face whatever challenge you got to face, but you got to face it. Somehow or another, you got to face it. You can't keep running from it. You can't keep drinking or hiding because your body going to break down, or you could die, or you can overdose. So you're going to have to learn to get with it, to be honest and tell the truth on yourself. See, you can hide from everybody else, but you can't hide from yourself. I know a lot of people, and I don't lose the focus on me, a lot of people hide from themselves. I don't hide from myself. I know what that feels like, to hide from yourself. I know I've been there, done that. I know what it is to be captivated, to become inside of you that you are, can't nobody see you. People see you. You think people can't see you. People can read you. People can see some things you don't even see. You know, and when I see things, I still keep that motivated heart of mine to be motivated, and that I don't want to use. I just need to stay focused. Let me find the reason why I needed to use. Let me find out, first of all, what was the motive of me picking up these problems and picking up these personalities and picking up this character defects to where I don't care no more. What brought me to that point? What brought me to that point? I don't give a doggone. I just keep using. I don't care. Do whatever. I don't care. Oh, you're a crackhead. I don't care. You know, you ain't gonna never stop using. I don't care. What brought me to that point of feeling that way? Why do we feel that way sometimes? Why do we feel, you know, even being clean, sometimes we can be clean and somebody can mess our whole understanding up. We ain't going to use, but we got to go through all this again to kind of understand what you just did and why did you do it. You know, and I find myself doing that. Some people just throw me off sometime, and I have to just look at it for what it really is and understand I got to keep the focus on me at all times. I got to do what makes me happy. I got to go where I need to go. I got to move around where I need to move around. You know, I can't dictate what other people should do for me. What we need to do for ourselves. I learned that. This book gave me some courage. This step 4 gave me some courage. It gave me motivation. It gave me to work on the things that I'm scared to work on. It made me not fearful of anything. And I'm not. Only thing I wanted to do was take that moral inventory, and that moral inventory means that it was some things that I thought I couldn't change, that I found myself that I could change. It was some things that I was scared to face, and I found out in this step I can face anything. You know, so this faith was motivating me to build my hope up, to understand that I am what I say I am, and I'm not a pretender no more. So now I got to deal with step 4. Motivate me to keep having a motivation to want to do better, to want to understand why I do the things and understand why I let people do the things that they do to me. Why do I do that? Because these are the things that's going to come up too, even when you clean. You know, why do you let people talk to you like that? Why when people do you like that, you get in your feelings and you want to get all out of character? Okay, so what happened? Sometimes I have to go back, say, when they go back and read your book. Why is you taking the focus off of you and putting it on somebody else? So I always have to maintain the focus on me. Even if I have an agreement, the moral inventory, it says, I like this part right here when it says, you know, hearing the word might also awaken our tendency toward rebelling against society, morals, and resentments of authority who were never satisfied with our mortality. That was deep. Some people was going to never be satisfied with us. We was trying to do all we can do and help everybody we can help. And no matter what we did, it wasn't going to be enough. It wasn't going to be enough. I understand that in Narcotics Anonymous, in this step, the word moral has nothing to do with specific codes or behaviors or society norms or judgment of some authority figure. And it don't. It says our own values and principle what matters. So I had to learn that. This step is really about you. It's really taking a good look at you and understanding that, step 4 is a step that it's a process you're going to have to find out. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to say, what? You're going to have to say, oh, I remember. Oh, I brought it up. Oh, that's too painful. Oh, but I need to deal with it. So when they say it's a process, it is. It's a process we're going to go through because we're going to go through many, many levels in this step. I said motivation, step for motivation, a step for being honest, a step dealing with feelings, a step dealing with guilt and shame, step dealing with resentments, a step dealing with humility. There's a lot in this step 4. And some of y'all ain't ready for it. Some of y'all ain't even got past 2 and 3. So this is a step that you got to really be comfortable and take your time with because it's a depth step for me. Taking that deep moral inventory that it ain't about nobody but you. And it's about courage. And it did take me some courage, I ain't going to lie. Because it took me some courage to even want to do this step. And I like it that my sponsor didn't push me. She didn't push me. She said, when you get ready, Renee, but it's going to take you a couple of years. I thought she was lying. It's going to take you 3 or 4 years before you even get to step 4. And she wasn't lying. She wasn't lying because she was being truthful. This is a step you just don't get in and bump your head. You can go on and read through it like you want to read through it. But in order to work it and work a program and work these steps, you got to get honest. You got to, you're going to start feeling all kind of different feelings. You're going to start coming to a point to where, wow, man, I was just that bad. I was picking up everything. I was picking up other people's hurt. I was taking care of everybody else's stuff. I just wasn't doing the things. I needed to take an inventory. Y'all need to take an inventory of yourself right now. We need to take an inventory on a daily basis. Taking that searches and feelings inventory. I had to understand, why did it take me so long to get high, stop using? I had to understand that because the disease of an addiction don't want you to quit right then. It wants you to keep on. It wants you to mess up your life. It wants you to lose your house. It wants you to lose your car. It wants you to lose relationship. It wants you to feel guilt and shame. It wants you to hold your head down. It wants to take your joy. It wants to take your peace. It don't want you to be happy. It wants you to be walking around like a zombie. Step 4 is a deep step because we as addicts, we went through all this. We went through the abuse to ourselves over and over again. I know I did. And I know I got tired of being tired. And couldn't nobody do it for me. Only person I know that picked me up and helped me out was the God of my understanding. And then you want to have, they say when you take that searching and feeling more inventory of yourself, you're going to find out some things about yourself. I found out. Let me tell you what I did find out about myself in this step. I found out I had to step low to make you feel high. And I stayed low to make you feel high. I learned that I had to always try to escape from trying to be nice and help everybody else when I was hurting myself. I found out that the things that I had to fit in, I really didn't have to fit in so you could like me, but I did it anyway because I was insecure of my own feelings. I was insecure. We insecure. When we get in step 4, it's going to show us that how insecure we was. I was insecure. You know, that's why I let all this stuff happen. I didn't want to identify that I had a problem. I didn't want to identify that I'm drinking and I'm using drugs. I didn't want to identify that any cause that I had to go through was to make you like me because I didn't know how to like myself. You know, I didn't even know how to please myself. Well, pleasing myself was pleasing somebody else, but not getting the reward from it at all. So that's why I tell you right now, don't do all that. Step 4 taught me how to deal with my feelings. It taught me how to deal with all the resentments. I had so many resentments, it wasn't funny. But God delivered me from all that. And he didn't do it in one day. So step 4 is a very, it can be a complicated step. You know, it was very complicated for me. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. It was complicated because I wanted to do some parts and didn't want to do the other part, or I didn't want to go back and I didn't want to feel that humility. I didn't want to accept the consequences. I didn't want to accept accountability for the stuff that I had done. So it's a deep step. It's a deep step. So I learned from this step, but I learned a lot of stuff from this step. I learned how to free myself. I learned how to let the step take control and show me how to deal with each thing or character that I was in at that time. So now I know why I did the things that I did. And I know that I find a way. It says, I found a way to let go of some garbage that I had been carrying for years. I had to let go of some things that I had been carrying until it was eating me away, until it just almost doggone damn near took my life. Because pain can take you to a whole nother level. And guilt can take you to a whole nother level. Shame done took you to a whole nother level. So I had to learn the difference. But anyway, thank you. God bless y'all. Happy Mother's Day to y'all. I hope y'all stay safe. I'll see y'all next Sunday. I am letting you know, on the 20th, I'll be I got 2 grandsons graduating from college and in school, so I will be in Mississippi. I'm still going to find a way to go on live. See, I don't just go on here for you. I go on here for me, too, because it's a healer process for me. You know, and I'm not going to stop no matter what happens. I'm going to continue to do this as long as God give me breath in my body. I'm going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing and because it's working. So nothing is going to change. But anyway, thank y'all. Have a safe Mother's Day. We're on step 5 next week. So if I guess the reason why I'm saying that because Friday, my son's graduation Friday is a little party. So I'll be getting on late, but I won't miss Friday. I'm going to continue to keep my same routine, out of town or in town. Step 5, we admit to God and to ourselves, to another human being, the exact natures of our wrongs. Yes, this book is deep. And, I have today, I kind of in my feelings. You might can see it. I'm still, I get like that. I just get like that. And when I get like that, I have to soon go down and lay down and chill out and let God kind of talk to me and tell me what's going on. But happy Mother's Day to you all. And I love y'all. And have a safe week coming up. Do something nice and kind for somebody. And if ain't nobody told you they love you, tell them that Miss Renee says she love you, and have a good Sunday evening. See y'all next week. Thank you. God bless. Thank y'all so very much. Y'all motivates me. Y'all don't know what y'all do for me. Nobody knows what they do for me. But I know what you do for me. I can't get this to shut off. This phone act like it's crazy sometimes. You know, it says slow emotion, so it's going to move when it get ready. Come on. Yeah, so thank God that one is done. Thank God.